ध्यायतो विषयान् पुंसः सङ्गस्तेषुपजायते सङ्गात् सञ्जायते कामः कामात् क्रोधोऽभिजायते क्रोधात् भवति सम्मोहः सम्मोहात् स्मृतिविभ्रमः स्मृतिभ्रंशात् बुद्धिनाशो बुद्धिनाशात् प्रणश्यति.
So when this pumsaha means man. Dhyayato means thinking. On what? On vishayan, on objects of the senses. When this man is thinking about the objects of the senses, what happens? Sangha. Sangha means attachment. Attachment in what? Esho, in them, in these objects. Upajayate, arises. And from that sangat from attachment, sanjayate is born, kama, desire. And kamat, from desire, anger, krodha, ubajayate, arises. Ubajayate arises quickly. Krodha arises very quickly. Krodha comes very fast. You'll find sometimes even the most quiet, calm people suddenly, like a switch on, boom, explodes. So krodha comes very fast. So when a man thinks of objects, attachment arises from them for the objects. And one starts investing in that object, putting value in the outcome that that object would bring. So you start thinking, that the taste of that coffee and what is that value? This coffee is, it should be that dark South Indian filter coffee. That's what I want. That South Indian filter coffee, that's the value that you put into that. That's that perceived value. Go into that level of detail in terms of the outcome that you desire from that cup of coffee. And from that attachment, desire beyond. Now, desire, like we saw earlier, is the fastest growing creeper in the mind. It actually envelops the mind, like that snake wriggles around and goes around that body of the catcher. This creeper of a desire, it just goes into the mind, whirls around and goes into the mind. And from that desire arises anger at a very fast clip. And anger is nothing but temporary insanity. And it comes at a very fast clip. And continuing, Bhagavan says, from anger, krodhad, bhavati sammohaha, comes delusion. From anger comes delusion. Sammohat smriti vibhramaha. Smriti is what you have heard. Whatever you have heard is lost. Vibhramaha is lost. So sammohat, from delusion comes loss of memory. And smriti bhramshad, from loss of memory, buddhi nasho, destruction of buddhi. In this context, destruction of the discriminative capacity, the ability to distinguish between what is temporary, ephemeral, and what is permanent, long-standing, nitya. Buddhi nashat pranashyati. From destruction of that discrimination comes perishment, perishes. What perishes is, we started our sessions with this. When we started, what did we say? What is the param purushartha of a human being? Ultimately, whatever we do in life, whatever our vocation is, whatever our efforts are, whatever, ultimately we seek that everlasting happiness. We are aware that we have got joys in the world. We have got sadness in the world, the ups and downs and all that. But what we seek is that everlasting happiness. The happiness that is deep and the happiness that is long-lasting. That Parama Purushartha, that happiness is perished. It perishes. So from anger comes delusion. From delusion comes loss of memory. Memory of what? Memory of the wisdom that has already been gained. That is no longer, Vibraha means not available anymore. It's like the recalling power is lost. In computer language, you have the memory and then you have to recall from the memory. The memory is stored in the cloud nowadays. In the olden days, it would be stored in, the servers, right? And cloud is nothing but a bunch of servers in a large warehouse, not the real cloud. So recalling from that memory is not available anymore. There is something that has come in between to disrupt it. That is gone. And from that loss of memory comes the destruction of viveka, destruction of discriminative capacity. And when the loss of viveka happens, there is loss of clarity. And from that destruction of discrimination, the Parama Purushartha, the goal of ultimate happiness, perishes. So this is, Bhagavan is describing nothing but what we may refer to as the ladder of fall, the inverted ladder where you go down. So the ladder of fall starts with Vishaya Dhyana. Vishaya Dhyana is thinking about the object. And that thinking about the object leads to Sangha. Sangha is attachment to that object. And that attachment leads to pleasure-seeking propensity. You want to get something from it. You want some value out of it. Like that South Indian filter coffee. Any coffee will not do. That is nothing but kama. Kama means desire. The I want, I plus I want. You remember that? Now, when kama is come, it's a fork, it's a Y junction. In that fork, you can either get the kama satisfied or you don't get it satisfied. Actually, in most cases, most human beings, 70-80% of the time, the desires are not fulfilled. When the desires are not fulfilled, it leads to krodha. That's what Bhagavan is talking about. The anger, the krodha. And krodha leads to sammohaha, which is delusion. Now let us for a moment examine what happens if kama is fulfilled. Even if kama is fulfilled, then you want more. You've got something, you want more. Which is what? Nothing but lobha or greed. Now once lobha is there, again it's a Y junction, it's a fork. And in that fork of greed, either you get satisfied or you don't get satisfied. If the greed is satisfied, it leads to madha or pride. You become very proud because again and again you desired, that happened. Check, you got it. You desired more, that happened. Check, you got it. You desired even more and more and more to the extent of being greedy. Everything you got. So you get that pride. And if you don't get, when the lobha is not satisfied, because some other person is getting the lobha satisfied, you get matsarya, which is jealousy. Now exactly like krodha led to sammohaha, krodha bhavati sammohaha. Similarly, pride or madha and matsarya also lead to sammohaha. Like madaha bhavati sammohaha or matsarya bhavati sammohaha. So that delusion then further leads to smriti bhramsha. Smriti bhramsha is loss of some memory of what you already have known, the wisdom that you already possessed. That leads to buddhi nasha, loss of discriminative capacity. And then leads to pranashyati, which is the perishing of the Parama Purushartha.